If you were to ask me what is one of the best looking sports coupes for under 50 grand, the answer is clear to me. It's sitting right behind me. It is the Maserati GranTurismo. With the exterior designed by Pininfarina and the engine designed by Ferrari, it's one of the best sports coupes of all time. And I've owned this one here for over 3 months now, and I can tell you all about it. Now, I am going to keep this review as unbiased as possible despite me owning this car, but I'd like to think of it this way. I put my money where my mouth is, and I drive this car very often, and I have a lot of positive things to say, and I will also cover the negatives. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. But first, a history lesson. It's important to understand when buying these cars, it can be very confusing. There is a few trim levels and a few crossovers from years that you need to understand. And even with me buying one of these, I had to do a lot of research to understand it myself. So first, they made these from 2008 to about 2019. In that run, they did 3 distinct designs. First was the original GranTurismo, as I'm putting on the screen. It has a softer front end than this GranTurismo here, where in 2014, they refreshed it to this body style, which lasted all the way until 2017 to 2018, where they did the final version, where they made it even more aggressive. Now, the more important and more confusing part is the trim levels and engine options. Very early GranTurismos could have been optioned with the F1 transmission. They're very rare and they only made about 300 of them. It's very unlikely you'll come across those, but if you're looking for a daily driver, I would tend to steer away from them as much as I love those GranTurismos because they're rare. The mainline GranTurismos originally came with the 4.2-liter V8, and that was from 2008 to 2012. And that is referred to as the base model, but they later introduced the GranTurismo S, which came with the 4.7-liter Ferrari V8. So in that time period, you have a base 4.2 and a S 4.7. After the base and the S, which is easy to understand, they came out with the Sport. And the Sport came out around when the facelift came out in 2013. The Sport model is different than the S because the 4.2 engine was no longer available and only the 4.7 was now offered in the GranTurismo. In 2013 and 14, the Sport was now the base model since they no longer had the 4.2-liter V8. Above the Sport, you could get the MC or the MC Stradale, but we won't get into that as those are kind of their own animals. But it's important to note base, S, and Sport are all separate models. While the S and the Sport are similar, the Sport is the refreshed model. It also boasts about 10 more horsepower. The recap is here on the screen, but it is very important to understand that when you're shopping for GranTurismos because it can get confusing very fast. With that out of the way, let's focus on this 2014 GranTurismo Sport. As stated, this being a 2014 comes with the 4.7-liter V8 engine, which is the generally more well-liked engine, and I love this thing. How it sounds is just spectacular. Listen to it. It not only sounds good, but it also performs excellently. It has 454 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. That's good enough to launch this to 60 in 4.7 seconds. It also has a top speed of 186 miles an hour. The engine's mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission, codenamed the ZF automatic transmission, but you can also manually shift it with the paddles or if you shift over the gear selector. And I can't express to you enough how much I love this engine and, of course, the driving experience. It is fantastic. Check out my other video where I was buying this car and I got to experience this firsthand. Now, as far as reliability goes, we'll touch base on that at the end of the video. But paired with this absolutely fantastic Ferrari V8, you get amazing styling from Pininfarina. Really, this is one of the selling points to this car. Maserati really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the designs. I know they get it from Pininfarina, but still, this combination with a Ferrari V8 and excellent exterior styling is what makes this such a desirable car. It's got a long nose that wraps around elegantly to the grille. The headlights are aggressively angled, looks like it's going fast even when sitting still. Of course, you have the iconic Maserati Trident in the grille, as well as the Maserati logo on the front of the bumper. This being a 2014 and a refreshed model, the bumper is changed. As you can see, the air vents now wrap up to where the fog lights used to be on the older models. In this design, I prefer greatly over the previous generation. While those are beautiful, this is just so much better. Wrapping around with the grille, it brings you to these arched fenders in order to fit these big 20-inch rims and tires. They swoop back down to the side of the car where you have 3 air vents distinct to the Maseratis of this era. These side skirts come standard with these GranTurismos, and it looks quite nice. Again, moving to the rear end, you have arches around where these 20-inch rims sit. The window design is also quite elegant. They wrap around to the rear where it meets a point next to another Maserati Trident. These arches give the GranTurismo wide hips, and it swoops elegantly into the built-in spoiler on the deck lid. Accompanying that is the taillights that go from pinpoint to pinpoint, almost triangular shaped, that wrap it all together. Maserati has spelled out their name on the rear so no one confuses what you're driving. However, they did not put a GranTurismo or a Sport badge on this car anywhere on the exterior. You also have one of your only bits of chrome besides on the front bumper, located here under the Maserati logo. The bumper is simple, yet spouts a sporty edge. It does have dual exit exhaust with quad tips. It looks like there is only 2 tips back here, but if you look in, there's actually 4, 2 per side. But do take a second to admire how this thing looks, especially from this rear angle. It is just gorgeous. And one more time, in the front end, it is just so beautiful. It's hard to name anything else under 50 grand that looks this good. Thankfully, the interior is laid out beautifully as well. First thing I want to note are these sport seats. I believe you can also find these seats in some other Ferrari models as well. They do look at least almost identical to what's in some of these other Ferraris. You have the Trident logo stitched up top with stitching that goes all around the bolsters of the seats. You have a vent design here under the headrest, and then the rest of the seat has this arrow shape that looks quite sporty as well. There are back seats, and they're very similarly designed. It has the stitching, it has the Maserati logos stitched into the seats. There is a decent amount of room back there. You could fit someone for a short period of time, but you don't want to be back there for more than 10 to 20 minutes, unless you're under 5'10". And of course, the seats are leather, but not only that is leather, the shift knob, center console, parts of the door cards, and the door handles are all leather as well. There's nothing cheap in this interior. This GranTurismo also is optioned with the dark wood grain around the steering wheel, the dashboard, and on the doors as well. However, this is where I come to the only real complaint I have about the quality of the car. And this doesn't just apply to the GranTurismos, but the sticky button situation. Anyone that's owned a Ferrari California, a GranTurismo, or a few other models around this era knows what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, the soft touch material in the buttons and a couple other places gets very sticky over time. Thankfully, this car isn't too affected by it. It has some spaces starting to do it around the radio screen and around where you have the door handle pull. Call me dramatic, but I think it looks bad. And it was a bad decision also for Ferrari or Maserati to use this soft touch material. Besides in BMW, I don't think I've ever seen a soft touch material like this just kind of wilt away. Funny enough, on other places on this interior where they didn't use either of those, it doesn't fall apart. So what the heck? Why use a different material on these buttons and a few other places? Unfortunately, I haven't found a remedy yet to solve this, and I don't think many others have either, unless you just replace those parts. Now, with me complaining about this, it's not nearly enough to deter anyone or me from not buying this car. It's just an annoyance, and a lot of GranTurismo owners know about this issue. Now back to the positives, which will pretty much be the rest of the video. Moving on to the gauge cluster, it's analog. I love that. It has the Maserati blue backing it as well. You have a screen in the middle that'll tell you various general car information, as well as it has a RPM indicator for when to shift when you're in manual, and it'll also be there when you're in just regular drive. Speaking of, you have a couple drive modes here. You have normal, of course. You have sport. You have manual sport or manual normal. You have ice mode, which isn't actually for ice. It stands for this, which I can't think of now. I use it for rainy day situations. You can turn on or off traction control, and then you have park sensors on or off as well. Now, there is no backup camera in the 2014 models. Later on, they did add a backup camera. Of course, the car is equipped with dual zone AC as well as rear AC. Now, as far as infotainment goes, it's definitely outdated to today's standards. You have some information about the car in there, but you can connect Bluetooth for phone calls. I can't seem to do it for Bluetooth audio for music, but that's not that important. I just use an aux cord. You have USB aux or the regular 355 millimeter aux cord. It does have map, but you're probably not going to use that. It is a 2014. They're outdated. But funny enough, you even have an entire phone keypad here. So you can type in a phone number, dial, and hang up calls all right there. That's not all too unusual. Some Mercedes models have that as well. But it definitely adds to a little bit of the dated aspect. Or to the charm, depending on how you look at it. Now, you do have the only GranTurismo badge on the car sitting right here on the dash, GranTurismo Sport. The sound system is rather good. This is equipped with Bose sound system. I love it. It sounds fantastic and it gets loud. Both windows are automatic down. Driver's side is automatic roll up. Maserati does also give you an analog clock on the dash. Last couple of items, you do have rain sensing wipers that are automatic. You can turn those off as well. You have cruise control, automatic headlights, and of course parking sensors. One of my favorite touches is that they decided to put Alcantara and suede all along the roof and the pillars. It looks incredibly nice and matches very well with this dark wood and black leather interior. You have plenty of storage. Both doors have storage pockets. The center console is rather large for a sports coupe. You also have 2 cup holders in the rear, 2 cup holders in the front, and a relatively sizable glove box. And there you have it. There is the GranTurismo. Now, as promised in the beginning of the video, what is the reliability of this car? I've had it for about 3 months, and I've loved everything about it. I only had one issue, which was a bad ground wire connection. Got that fixed for under $300, and I was on my way. Of course, it did freak me out, but it was just so minor. So overall, what are my thoughts? Do I recommend it to you to buy one? Well, yeah. I bought this car with 14,000 miles on it, and I've put over 2,000 miles on it in that short period of time. And I can't express to you how much I love this thing. It turns heads, it drives fantastic. I love shifting this thing because, oh my gosh, it sounds so good. And while I know repairs aren't going to be nearly as cheap as some other brands, you have to pay a little bit of a premium to get an experience just like this. At least, you don't have to do it when you're buying this. I bought this one for just around 40 grand. It had 14,000 miles on it, and it's treated me well for now 2,000 miles. And the great part is, if you buy it like I did, 90% of its massive depreciation has already hit, so buying one used, as long as it was maintained well, is a great option. So in short, if you're looking to buy one of these and you've done your proper research and you're buying one that's been maintained properly, I absolutely say go for it. Thank you guys for watching my review on my Maserati GranTurismo. I love doing reviews like this, and I'm picking back up into it. Of course, it is like 100 degrees in here and outside, so I'll see how many I can make and pump out. I've got some cool cars surrounding me, so I'll be making videos, hopefully weekly. The channel started to gain some traction, so thank you guys for the views and the subscribers. I'm more than happy and more than grateful. And now let me know what you think about the Maserati GranTurismo. Do you like this generation better than the new ones? What's your favorite style? Was it the original, the refresh, or the third and final refresh? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you guys for watching.